What I'm about to say right now shouldn't be a surprise to you, but the fact that it isn't speaks volumes to the current state of society. Black people are very underrepresented in media, especially in animation. For years, our earliest depictions in this medium were basically cartoon equivalents of minstrel shows. Even the world's most recognizable cartoon character has an unfortunate history with the way that it depicts us, that neither of the two Bobs that have run Disney want you to know about. I'll definitely be coming back to this point later. This is precisely why black voices having a presence in the modern indie animation scene is important. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to another quick joint, a series where a video is too long to be YouTube short, but too short to be a full-length video. Let's talk about the most significant moments in black indie animation I could think of so far. The earliest black indie cartoon I could think of is Jay's Life, created by Cartoon Management in 2009, and basically follows a hood nigga getting into hood nigga situations. It sounds funny when you hear me say it, but if you've seen the show, you know how accurate of a description that is. Like, dude literally does nothing but get high with his homie in the pilot, and the nigga almost gets robbed after messing around with a girl in only the second episode.
Hey man, fuck this, man. What? You and that bitch get out of my house. Fuck both of y'all up.
I haven't seen that much of it, but I heard the finale's pretty crazy. It ran for about 5 seasons in 3 years, which is unheard of in the indie world for the most part. I'd assume because visually the production value wasn't as high as the later episodes, most likely because of the technology available at the time, at least that's what I assume. But it's pretty cool that a show with black people in it made this much of a splash on YouTube with how early on its existence was. Plus, look at these view counts. These are pretty decent for the time. Also, the theme song was pretty hard, even though YouTube age restricted it. Something about YouTube blocking a music video of cartoon vixens from 15 years ago is so funny to me. Although Jay's Life is a classic, the show Cartoon Management will go on to make afterwards will make a bigger impact and still go on to this day. Barry Tales premiered in 2013, only a year after the finale of Jay's Life, is a show about a bear named Barry starting his first year at college after being forced by his dad due to him having a lack of direction in his life. That's pretty cool art direction, with its style obviously being inspired by Kanye's graduation cover, because you know, why not? It's iconic. The show has a tightly written pilot establishing character dynamics and a wide array of jokes in the span of 8 minutes. We get this weird nurse who flirts with our boy for some reason, we meet his best friend who he bickers with at first, the girl everybody swoons over, and the cool stoner white boy that don't bother nobody, and surprisingly nothing feels like it happens too fast. It's well written, has a unique art style, is set in college, which is incredibly rare for animation or just Western media in general. The production value is up since the last show and has a wide variety of black coded characters without there being any humans. Like, they're literally bears and they're still blacker than the soundtrack to a John Singleton movie. It's hard for me to think about any other black cartoons going crazy like this on YouTube back in 2013. Oh yeah, right, We Are Young Money, created by Fleeno Beat, started all the way back in 2010 and still going to this day. It mainly satirizes the record label it's named after, and there's not too much I can say about it. It's just one of them joints you gotta go watch for yourself. There might be a few aspects here and there that don't hold up that well because of how long it's been going, but that's to be expected. If you rock with rap music, you'll find something to like about it. And just how big Young Money was at the time, considering Drake and Nicki dropped both of their debut albums the same year the show started, it's no wonder why it was one of the first black indie cartoons to connect with the people the way it did and still does to this day. But now it's time that we fast forward to the year that changed the internet forever, 2016. I swear on social media platforms like IG, I see at least one post talking about how much they missed this year. And we got classic music, classic memes, and it was the last year of Vine on top of that. But it was also the year the creator by the name of Cartoon Connect would make a show on YouTube called Lil Ron Ron. This was arguably the year that we as a society started to transition more and more into digital media like streaming services, social media, and user-generated content like YouTube over traditional media like the cable television, radio stations, and magazines from the days of old. The adpocalypse is a good example of the struggles of the world trying to adapt to these new mediums, but how well does this all connect to this one cartoon? Well, Lil Ron Ron itself blew up pretty quickly, amassing over 1 million views in one day. The show all started with a character created by online comedian Ron Boy TV. Cartoon Connect, still in college at the time, saw this character on Facebook and messaged Ron about the possibility of turning it into a cartoon.
I was on Facebook just scrolling through my timeline and I seen a guy named Ron Boy TV.
What's going on YouTube? It's the Cartoon Connect back with another video, and I'm here with Ron Boy TV, as you know.
And he was creating the skits for Lil Ron Ron without any like animation. It was just him putting on different outfits and acting it out. And when I watched it, I'm the type of person who I can see stuff like as I can see something as an animation. So if I hear a sound or like some audio, or I'm watching a stand-up comedy special, I can see animation like with that audio that they're creating. So I just kind of reached out to him. He had like 500,000 followers. So I asked him, I was like, hey, we should try to turn this into an animation. And he was with it. I did the animation overnight, like I did it really fast, and when we put it out the next day, it got like 2 million views overnight.
Was it because of how less saturated the internet was back then compared to now? Was it pure luck, or was it because of the show's simplicity? Episode 2 was the first one I remember seeing as a kid, I think, so I'm gonna use that as an example. In the episode, Lil Ron tells his mom how he met his quote-unquote sister at his dad's house, completely misunderstanding the situation in a way only a child could. This humorously only adds a further rift between his two split up parents, especially after telling his dad what his mom and her quote-unquote friend were doing in the house one night. It's like nice, lighthearted innuendo that doesn't go too far, but it's still fun to watch nonetheless. And this observation about what the show is pretty much fits the first episode, even though we skipped it, because I did rewatch it while making this video. It's on the nose, but the average kid probably wouldn't catch on to it in terms of the innuendo. As a middle schooler, I definitely caught on to it. Like, I knew what time it was for real, but for 2016, there's nobody doing stuff like this on YouTube. Plus the fact that he was doing multiple other shows and black cartoon parodies of popular shows, especially the Simpsons one that I believe was the first thing I saw from Cartoon Connect, was really just a testament to how unique what he was doing was at the time. And what has been one of my worst performing videos of all time, talked about how in this exact same year I started developing my own black indie show. I don't remember if it was a direct result of what Cartoon Connect was doing at the time, but it did mean a lot to see another person making black characters on the internet. Going indie made the most sense for my show because of how young I was, and none of the cartoon ideas I had up until that point, because mind you I was only 10 years old, had people that looked like me in it, because it just wasn't something I was used to seeing. Shows like South Park inspired me to make this show reflect my own experiences, and having black main characters just made the most sense in order for that to happen. After multiple scripts, redesigns, a failed test pilot, and premise changes, I'm finally reaching towards something that's me. A show that not only has black people a part of its main cast, but one that has a distinct voice. One that's developed itself into a cohesive hodgepodge of its own influences. Am I glazing my own show a little bit? Yeah, nigga, stop asking dumb questions. But everything I'm saying here is genuine. And when it comes to having a show from a black voice, sometimes you need to utilize that to talk about what's important. Remember how earlier in this video I brought up how even Mickey Mouse has an odd history with how they depict black people? Well, it's about time we revisit that. Towards the end of last year, the Steamboat Willie version of Mickey Mouse finally hit the public domain, meaning that version of him was essentially free from copyright. Everybody on the internet took advantage of this back in January, including yours truly. I made an animatic satirizing this situation using my characters. To explain this animatic, I'll give a brief rundown of the show. It follows 4 quadruplet brothers and their girlfriends spreading activism through their own respective aspirations. None of that activism happens here in this animatic. In fact, this isn't even canon to the show. I just thought it would be funny. 2 of those brothers, Kevin and Alex, are seen politely greeting Steamboat Mickey, only for Alex to say this: "Oh wait, this is the Mickey that don't like black people. Let's move, let's move." See, the way this originally ended was that Steamboat Mickey would chase them. There would be one change I made at the last minute that would change the context of everything. I changed it to where it looks like the boys ran away from Steamboat Mickey, when really they're running away from a racist version of Mickey standing next to him that's a direct reference to an official short from back in the day. Your eyes do not deceive you. That is in fact Mickey Mouse in blackface. I feel like a decent amount of people know about Disney's odd past with depicting minorities in their work, and Disney themselves have been trying to course correct that with remakes for the last decade. Watch Lindsay Ellis's amazing Woke Disney video on the topic from a while back if you haven't. But I feel like Disney's history runs so deep, I feel like they've only preserved the lesser of the evils for the public when it comes to offensive things they've made in the past. And this blackface Mickey is most likely a prime example of that. My animatic was supposed to highlight this by tricking the viewer into thinking that the Mickey everybody was talking about at the time was the bad guy within the context of my story. I even put a pinned comment under the video to let people know that I wasn't endorsing the use of blackface, and that all I was doing was calling back to something that shouldn't have happened in the first place, that more people need to know about. And without the internet, without the freedom that comes with being indie, I would have never been able to voice my perspective in the way that I did. In the short/reels version of the animatic, I cut out the ending in order to entice people to watch the full version, but also because I was scared that since short form audiences don't have time to actually sit with the content and what it's trying to say because of the nature of the algorithm, I felt like a lot of people wouldn't understand my intentions with the design used in the ending. Speaking on the topic of fear and saying things that need to be said for those that need to hear it, allow me to propose my final thoughts on why Black indie voices are so important. If you've been in the cartoon community for a while, you're probably aware of the YouTuber Terrific Tariq. Back in 2019, he did a video called How to Black, which was an analysis on what Black representation had been in animation up until that point, and what we could do going forward. I haven't seen that video in a minute, but what he says at the end is something along the lines of the fact that we'll know that we're successful at telling Black stories when we can get to the point where telling those stories is just as commonplace as white ones are. We won't have to look at them as explicitly Black stories every time we bring them up. They could just be stories. Not to the point where Black culture is watered down for wider audiences, but just the opportunities to have our own experiences feel less other through the means of art. He's even doing that himself with his upcoming indie cartoon titled Hey, that I did some fan art for a while back that I just realized made it into one of his videos a month later after it happened. But you know, I'll take that L in stride. And if you don't support this show when it comes out, I'm taking all of y'all Black cards. Best believe they will be revoked that day on my gaming channel grade, bro, on my dead analytics, for real though. But anyway, it aims to tell a lighthearted story about Black love without the usual tropes that we see with them in the media. And on top of that, having a bohemian main character and even queer representation with this ensemble cast. It feels like a manifestation of what we talked about in that video all those years ago. He's not the only one doing this though. Revamped Roses' cartoon, Revamped, is a queer vampire show about the romance-teasing dynamic between its main character and the new vampire kid at his school. It's inspired by Twilight, and as somebody who wouldn't be caught dead watching one of those movies, I thoroughly enjoyed it when I watched it last year. I'm not 100% on if the main character is Black or not, although I know for a fact that they're POC and that the show's creator is Black, so regardless, I highly suggest that you watch his pilot and support his crowdfund. Then there's Screen Time, created by another fellow cartoon YouTuber by the name of Hats Off Media, which details the struggle of being a creative while still dealing with the struggles of keeping up with the changes of the digital age, which is something that anybody could relate to. The day this video drops, I'm putting out a playlist on this channel full of upcoming and currently available Black cartoons in the indie space that need your support, and I highly suggest you check it out, as it's linked in the description alongside my cartoons channel, which is Toon Genius. This is all linked in the description, and before I go, here's a clip from a mini doc Cartoon Connect did that I think perfectly fits the message of this video.
That's my main focus with Cartoon Connect, is to create cartoons that Black kids can look up and really feel like they can resonate with these characters and really relate to the look of these characters, the style of them, and yeah.